Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the techniques that take a simple chatbot and turn it into a seriously intelligent AI application, one that can actually do complex stuff. Okay, so let's just dive right in. We all know these AI models are incredibly smart, but how do you make them truly powerful for real-world work? Well, to get there, we first have to understand the common walls that developers hit all the time. Pre-trained models like GPT-4 they're just amazing feats of engineering. But if you've ever tried using what we call a vanilla version, the base model right out of the box, for a specialized task, you've probably noticed it has some pretty frustrating limits. And yeah, these are the big ones. Their knowledge can be months, even years out of date. They totally lack deep expertise in specific fields like medicine or finance. They can be super difficult to control. Sometimes they just invent facts, they hallucinate, and they almost never tell you where they got their information. This is exactly why engineers have come up with a whole set of techniques to supercharge them. So let's get into our first level up. And honestly, it's the most fundamental skill for getting more out of any AI, mastering the art and science of the prompt. I mean, the difference here is just night and day. A vague prompt gets you a vague, pretty much useless answer. But look what happens when you add specific context. Who the audience is, the format you want, what to focus on. All of a sudden, you dramatically improve the quality of the output. And we can take this even further with a really cool technique called few-shot prompting. The best way to think about it is like you're giving the AI a little mini training session right there in your instruction, showing it exactly what a good answer looks like. By giving it just a couple of examples, you're aligning the model's judgment with your own specific needs. It learns your definition of negative or positive, which is absolutely essential for any kind of task-specific job. Now, for more complex problems, there's something called chain of thought prompting, and it's amazing. By simply telling the AI to think step by step, you force it to show its work, to lay out its reasoning. This little trick often stops it from jumping to a wrong conclusion and seriously boosts its accuracy. Now, this is a more advanced move, prompt chaining. So instead of one giant, complicated prompt, developers link a bunch of simpler ones together. The output of the first prompt becomes the input for the second, and so on. It creates this controllable, step-by-step workflow where you can actually see what's happening and fix things if they go wrong. Okay, but what if your AI needs to know stuff that was never in its original training data? Like your company's private documents? Well, that brings us to level 2, giving the AI its own specialized, up-to-date library to read from. And this is done with a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. It's a direct solution to the problems of old knowledge and not having any sources. This is a total game changer for businesses because it means your AI can become an expert on your data, not just the general internet. Honestly, the best way to think about RAG is like an open book exam. When you ask a question, the system first runs off, finds the most relevant pages from your knowledge base, and then hands them to the AI along with your question. It makes sure the answer is accurate, current, and totally grounded in facts you can actually check. Okay, now it's time for the biggest leap yet. We're going from an AI that just answers questions to one that can actually take action in the world. Welcome to Level 3, Agentic AI. This right here is where the AI stops being just a glorified text generator and becomes an active worker. An agentic workflow gives the model the ability to reason, to plan, and then to use tools to actually accomplish a goal for you. So, what makes an agent tick? Well, it's really built from 3 core parts. Its instructions, or prompts, a memory system so it can keep track of the conversation and what you like, and most importantly, a toolbox full of APIs it can use to connect to other software and services. So a true travel agent AI, it wouldn't just talk about flights. It would plan out the steps, then it would execute by calling real flight and hotel APIs, interact with you to confirm your choices, use a payment API to book the trip, and then finally update its memory with what it learned about your preferences for next time. It's doing, not just talking. So what does this all mean for the people who are actually building these systems? Well, using these advanced techniques isn't just about learning new tools. It really requires a fundamentally new way of thinking about how software gets made. We're moving away from the old deterministic world of coding, which follows these really rigid, predictable rules. And we're moving into a fuzzy world. Here, we're not writing exact logic for every single scenario. We're more like guides, managing intelligent systems that work on probabilities and interpretation. The big takeaway is this: the role of the software engineer is changing. It's evolving from being a pure coder into something more like an agent manager. The job is becoming about orchestrating these complex workflows that you then hand off to an intelligent agent to actually go and execute. And this just opens up a whole new horizon of what's possible. We've gone way beyond simple chatbots to create these agents that can reason, plan, and act in the digital world. And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. Now that AI can do all of this, what really hard problems are we going to ask it to solve next?